We have the power if we know how to use it. The Constitution is so easy to understand. You don't have to go to college to understand it. All you have to do is understand the intent. What is the intent? The intent is so that you have the power to stop the government from injuring or plundering one of us. It keeps the government off of our back. That's what that law is all about. The Constitution, the people in government are the only ones that have any constitutional rights, because that's where they have to go to get their authority to do anything. I better go back here and do something with this thing right here. The elections don't do it. Grand jury. Who's on that grand jury?
Citizens.
It isn't the President of the United States. It's we the people on that grand jury. And when we've got those 3 bars in place, we have picked ourselves up by our bootstraps. Got ourselves up off of the floor, out of the dirt down here, and put ourselves up here where we belong. That's exciting, isn't it? The Declaration of Independence is, well, some say it's the birth certificate for the country. But it's got some real good, some real good teachings right there in the first part of it. It says, I'm going to the second paragraph. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, and among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. To secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers. You want to finish that? From the consent of the governed. Now, we've got a lot of unjust powers today, haven't we? How about the Endangered Species Act coming out of a bunch of idiots in Washington, D.C.? Is that a just power? It's an unjust power, ladies and gentlemen. Unjust powers, governments that exercise unjust powers get that power from the consent of the governed. They'll use fear to get you to give your consent. Now, let me go on. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence indeed will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes, and accordingly all experience has shown that people are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable. Have you been suffering and you thought they were sufferable, and the evils just keep coming? It just keeps coming after us. Then to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. And here's the part that really gets it down. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, oh my goodness, a whole train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism. You know what that word means? It is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government. That word, to throw off, Kind of sounds like there could be some violence involved, doesn't it? If they don't back off, what are we going to do? Are we going to back off?
No.
No. Because, you know, it says, it is their right, it is their duty. I like to put the word responsibility. It's not just a duty, it's a responsibility, it's an obligation. The duty, the responsibility, the obligation is what we owe our progeny, our next generations. Have you suffered enough? I think you have, because most of you wouldn't be here tonight if you hadn't suffered enough already. The Seventh Amendment to the Constitution is the most important of the 10 articles of the Bill of Rights. The Seventh Amendment is far and away the most important amendment of all. And the legal profession and the politicians have spent over 200 years trying to bury it and get it out from out of our sight. They're teaching young lawyers at the University of Montana Law School, and all they teach them is that the Seventh Amendment secures your right to a jury trial in a Seventh Amendment jury trial. I should have hung on to that. The Seventh Amendment is the most powerful. Now, the First Amendment, you're all familiar with the 5 clauses: free speech, free press, free religion, free assembly, and free to petition for redress of grievance. You're all familiar with that. And you read those, that First Amendment, and there's no enforcement. If a politician or a bureaucrat or somebody if they violate your free speech, where's your remedy? How do you get this, this corrected? If they tamper with religion, which they have done, the churches, they've got the churches to where they're just absolutely emasculated and dehorned and absolutely worthless, other than a propaganda machine for them. The Seventh Amendment, here's what it says. I'm going to read it. In suits at common law, where the value in controversy shall exceed $20, the right of trial by jury shall be preserved, and no fact tried by a jury shall be otherwise re-examined in any court of the United States than according to the rules of the common law. Do you understand what this says? It says that the Seventh Amendment common law jury is the highest court in our land. The Supreme Court, they're not the highest court in the land. They're just 9 government agents. They're all on the government payroll, aren't they? Every single one of them have got a conflict of interest if they're sitting there on that bench and there is a controversy between the guy that shot the grizzly and the Fish and Wildlife people, or whoever they are, that tried to enforce that against the guy up there at Browning. The jury, the common law jury, is the only court that is authorized to hear that case, because the judge's code of ethics says that if he has a conflict of interest, he can't make findings of fact or conclusions of law. We're going to wipe out the tax court. They probably don't all know it yet, but they know it's coming. We just won a good one again here recently, where the tax court judge, he just did not want to sign that order to dismiss that action, but he had to. He waited till the last day, and then he had to sign the order dismissing the action, because there's no constitutional due process in a tax court There's no jury.